Hi to everyone. Welcome to our calculating the voltage in the transformer. So in this part, in order for them to solve it or for us to solve it, we have the following formula, which is the following formula or we have the number of turns, voltage, and the current, and they are expressed on this kind of equation, which is over Ns equal to Vp over Vs and equal to Is over Ip. In this part, the following given or the following description on the following are already provided on the screen, which is NP stands from the number of turns in the primary coil, NS stands for the number of turns in the secondary coil, VP stands for voltage across the primary, stands for voltage across the secondary, IT stands for the current across the primary, and IS stands for current across the secondary. Okay, let me repeat. IP stands for current across the primary and IS stands for the current across the secondary. So those are the formula that we are going to use. So in order for us to be familiar on how to solve for the following, we will use an hydro, and this the link of the hydro that I will show later will also be sent in our elements, and it will be shared to you, and you can have an access on the following. Okay. So like what I informed to you, the number of voltage, the number of turns, and the current are expressed into this kind of formula, which is NP over NS over VP over VS or equal to IS over IP. Okay? So, in order for you to be familiarize on what formula we are allowed to use or what formula we need to use, if your problem has a number of turns and they are asking for the voltage, automatically this is the good formula that you have to use. Okay? Now, if you have the voltage and they are looking for the current, so this is the good formula that you have to use. Okay? While if you have a current, you have the given current and they are asking for the number of turns, then this is the good formula that you are going to use or that you are allowed to use. So in other words, it will depend on the formula that you will have. It will be depend on what do you have to find. It will be depend on what you need to solve. Okay? So the number one thing that you have to do is to analyze the problem. Look for the given, look for what is something that you have to find, and that is where you can identify what will be the good formula that you are allowed and that you are going to use. Okay? So let's now go on the first example that we have. Huwag na tayo magpatumpin-tupik pa dito. Ano? Okay. So, in terms of the following, we always have to remember that in answering the problem, we have to identify what is the given, what is the find or what do we need to find, what is our solution. Because if you don't have solution, maaaring nakuha mo lang yan kay Marites o kaya kay Osa. Kasi chinichika lang nila yung sagot. Or, that it's just kidding. Or just a kidding part. Or, and last but not the least is the final answer. Okay, so we have to get the final answer. So there are 4 things that you have to remember in answering the problem. Given, find, solution, and final answer. And please disregard my writings on this Drew because I'm not good in terms of writing using a mouse. I only have a cat and I don't have a mouse. Sure. Joke lang. Let's go back. So, in this part, I have 3 problems that I will share to you. Okay? And we will try to answer that together. And I do hope that you will watch this one until at the very last part of this video. Because if you will not watch this, then paano mo malalaman? Hindi mo alam. Pero much better you will watch this. Okay? I was just kidding. Baka kasi nabuboard na kayo. So, let's have the first problem. A transformer has a 20 turns on the primary and 400 on the secondary. So, what is the output? What is the output voltage if the input voltage is 500 volts. So like what I told you, we have to go first in the given. Let's identify what are the given. So the given that we have is actually 20 turns. It said here 20 turns. So you have 20 turns on the primary. Okay, 20 turns. So that will be your NP. Next, you have the word 400 on the second turn. So you have NS is equal to 400 turns. And you have the third given, which is input voltage, which is 500 volts. Okay? So if you encounter the word input, automatically that will become the primary. Because when we are talking about input, it means the electricity, the current, or the voltage, or the number of turns will just go in. Okay? It will go inside, or it will go on that specific part. But if it's output, automatically, if you saw the word output, on that part, that will become a secondary. Okay? So, this will be a clue for you already. If you see the word input, primary, or that is about a primary. And if you see the word output, that will be a secondary. Okay? So, in order for you to identify the following given, other than analyzing them, you already have the clue. Okay? Input, primary, output, secondary. Okay? Let's erase all of them. So, we have here BP is 500 volts because we have the word input. So, that will be a primary. Next, let's identify what do we need to find or what do we need to solve. It said here that is the output of the voltage, or we have to look for the output voltage. Sabi niya, what is the output voltage if the input voltage is 500 volts? So you indicate the find, and let's go and proceed with the solution. Like what I tell you, in identifying what will be the good formula that you have to use in the following problem, you have to know what is your given and what you need to find. And based on our number one problem, it said here we have to look for the output voltage. And we have a given which is a number of turns. So if that is the case, automatically, the formula that we have to use is NP over NS is equal to VP over BS. Because you have the voltage, you have the number of turns, and automatically, if we will look on our formula, that is the best way for us to solve it. Okay? So, wag na kayong malito. This is the good formula that we are going to use because we have number of turns and the voltage itself. So, let's use that one. So, we have here BP is equal to BS or over BS and equal to NP over NS. So, vice versa. Any of the following can be the first one. No worries on that part. So, we substitute the following. BP stands for the voltage in the primary, so which is 500. BS, that is one thing that we have to find. NP, or number of turns in the primary, is 20 turns. And our number of turns in secondary is 400 turns. Okay. So in order for us to solve them, you cross-multiply the following, cross-multiplication. So 500 multiplied to 400 and VS multiplied to 20. Now, in order for us to get the VS or the output voltage, we have to divide both sides of them into 20. So that the outage or the output voltage would just be left behind, and we can get and we can solve for the following if that is the case. Okay. So VS will be left behind, and that is how we will do it. Okay. So we cross multiply the following, cancel 20 and 20, and VS will be equal to 500. 500 multiplied to 400 over 20. So let's check that on our calculator. I have here our calculator. the ultimate calculator. Thank you for Scientific Calculator Online. We can solve for the following by this one. So, 500 multiplied to 400. Let's try. 500 multiplied to 400. That will become the answer. And divided by into 20. So, the answer will become 10,000 or 10,000 voltage. Okay? Because 500 multiplied to 400 divided by to 20, and you got 10,000 voltage. So that is how you will solve for the following. Okay? So don't be confused. You have your formula. You will just learn what is the method, which is by doing this kind of solution at the same time, and you were able to identify them. Okay? So there you go. So let's proceed in the second formula. Our second formula is a transformer has an input voltage of 500 V or 500 voltage and has a 250 turns on its primary coil. How many turns are there in the secondary coil if the output voltage is 100 volts? So again, those are the problem, and we have to analyze the problem in order for us to know what will we write in our given, what do we need to find, and what will be our solution. Okay? So our given is, or the given that we have are, NP is equals to 250. Why is it NP become 250? It said here, it has a 250 turns on its primary coil. So, you have to indicate it there. Next, your VP is 500 volts. Why does it become 500 volts? Because it said here that your input voltage is 500 volts. And you have here, output voltage is 100 volts. So, how many turns are there in the secondary coil if the output voltage is 100 volts? So, ayan na siya. So, we already have our find, which is the number of turns in the secondary coil. How can we know how can we know if that is one thing that we have to find? By analyzing the problem. It said here, how many turns are there in the secondary coil? So, automatically, that is this one, which is the find. Okay? And let's identify what will be the solution by identifying what is our given. So, we have our given, which are NP, or number of turns, and voltage. And if we will check on the following, they are asking to find the number of turns in secondary. So, the formula that we are going to use is this one. Because you have voltage, which is primary and secondary, and you have number of turns, which is primary. And you have to look for secondary. So, automatically, this is the formula that you are going to use. So, let's go back on the problem. This is our formula, and we substitute the following. Substitute based on the given that we have. VP is 500 voltage. VS, that is one thing that we have there, which is 100 volts. NP, that is 250. And NS, that is one thing that we have to find. So, cross multiply them. 500 multiplied to NS and 250 multiplied to 100 volts. And we divide both sides into 500 so that NS will be left behind. So for those who are still confused, so let's have this one. The reason why it become like this, because we have 500 volts multiplied to NS is equal to 250, sorry for my writing, 250 multiplied to 100. Multiply to 100. Ayan, 100. So, we divide both sides of them into 500 volts in order for us to get the NS, because we have to get this one. So we divide both sides of them into 500 so that NS will be left behind. So divide both sides of them. And we all know that same number automatically will be cancelled off. Or if we divide same number together, automatically it will become cancelled. So 500 volts, cancel, cancel. And the one that we have is actually NS is equal to 250 multiplied to 100 over 500. Okay, so let's check that in the calculator, even though the answer is already shown in our IDRU. Let's double check. Ano? So, 250 multiply to 100. Ay, hold on. 100 divided by 2, 500. So, the answer that we got is actually 50. So, let's double check if we have the same answer. So, yes, we have. Final answer is 50 turns. Okay. Why does it become 50 turns? Ayan, no, voltage canceled. Same sign, cancel. And the one that was left behind is turns. Same goes in the first problem that we have. The one that we have is only voltage, because turns and turns divided together will be cancelled. Okay? And let's go and proceed to the third example. Let me jump because I make this one. So Princess disassembles an electric train and find a small transformer inside. Grabe, napakalikot pala ni Princess, no? So if Princess will not touch the electric train, automatically she cannot find any small transformer. Kidding aside. Next, its primary coil is made up to 500 turns. And secondary coil is made up of 40 turns. The household voltage supplied to train is 120 volts in its primary coil, and in an input current of a 20 amplified. Okay, so automatically, what will be the output, or what will be the output current on the following? So let's identify what are the given that we have. The first given that we have is actually NP. Let's identify why it become 500. Because it said here our primary coil is made up of 500 turns. So 500 turns. NP is equals to 500 turns. And in our secondary coil, it become 40 turns. Okay? So in that part, we also have VP, or 120 volts. Why does it become like that? Because it said here our voltage supplied is actually 120 volts. Okay? And its primary coil and an input current of 20 amplify on that part. Okay? So, or ampere rather, 20 ampere. So, on that part, what will be the output current, or what will be the output current that we have to find in this part? So, these are the given that we have, which is IP is equals to 20 ampere, and VP, we have 100 voltage. So, if you will look on the formula that we have here, or if you will look on the given that we have here, it's quite difficult what will be the good formula that we are going to use. Because there are VP, or primary voltage. There are IP, or primary current. And we also have the word NP, which is 500 turns. And we also have our NS, which is 40 turns. So it is quite difficult to identify what will be the formula. However, let's go and let's identify the find. Let's go on the find. What do we need to find by analyzing the problem? It said here that we have to know the output current or the IS, because it's as here in our problem, what will be the output current. So if that is the case, you have complete given, which is number of turns, primary and secondary, and you have to find the following output current. So the formula that you are going to use is the NP and the IS and IP, or the current secondary and the primary current, because you have primary turns and secondary turns, and you have primary current, and you have to find for IS. Even though you already have even though you have the given, which is VP, it's okay, because we only need to get the IS. Okay, that's why the formula that we are going to use is actually NP over NS is equal to IS over IP. Okay, so let's go back on the problem. Hold on, let's go back on the problem. And so we have here our formula. NP is equal over NS is equal to IS over IP. So substitute the following based on the given that we have. NP, 500 turns. NS, 40 turns, equal to IS over IP, which is 20 ampere. So cross multiply the following. 500 multiplied to 20. IS multiplied to 40 turns. So 500 multiplied to 20 over 40 turns. And that will become, what is the answer? Let's go on the calculator. 500 multiplied to 20. 500 multiplied to 20. And we divide them into 40 turns. Let's see what will be the answer. The answer will become 250. And let's check if we got the same answer. So we got 250 ampere. Our secondary current, or the output current, will become 250 ampere. Okay? Because it said here we have to find the output current or IS. So that's it for today. And I do hope that you understand on how to solve for the voltage in the transformer. And you may access this e-drew, because I have an additional example here, which is this one. I haven't discussed this one because it's actually same in what we have in second problem. So I can give you this link, and this will be posted in your LMS. And everything that I have discussed here was also given to you in the LMS. Okay? So have a great day. I do hope that you understand the following and you have the idea on how to solve them. Thank you for listening. I do hope you will watch this.